So in this case, the client was the Scottish Government. It was the Justice Department within there, and it was their, if you like, their lead civil servants that were involved in that. And the project was actually the creation of the single Scottish Police Service, and it was helping them go through the difficult conversations they were going to have, and they were in the process of having, to try to bring all of these separate organisations and divisions together. By the end of the project, they had managed to reach an agreement on what the core areas were for discussion, for agreement, for negotiation as they were going through the process. The people that were involved from the Scottish Government side, the civil servants, felt more confident in how they were able to control the process. They were viewed with more credibility as well, so it wasn't just seen as being the note takers in the meetings. We actually introduced a very, very simple tool, and it's going to seem a bit strange, and it's probably one of the strangest things that I suggest to people to do. And it's a concept around put the key items, the things you really need to agree upon, put them in circles, put them in bubbles, and stick them up on a flip chart. And in this instance, what they had was within the room, they had a massive white wall, and they just started to write them up. Here are the things we need to talk about. Part of what they had to do was to be able to control the flow of conversation, because you had two, we could probably classify them as competitive elements within there. And if you can imagine, when you're in a room with competitive people, sometimes getting the other side to be quiet and allow the other side to talk is very difficult. So it was going through that process, giving them the confidence to be able to say, hang on a minute, let them finish, let them have their say. And what they started to find is, as they put the key elements up on the board, they started to find areas of commonality, areas that they could start to talk about really easily. And as soon as you find those areas of common ground, I'm not saying the conversation is always going to be simple. It'd be a lie if I said that. But it's an awful lot easier, because you can start to talk about the things that you have a common desire to reach an outcome on. Then the more difficult things that they then come on to, it's an easier process to have that conversation once you've started to realise that it's not just all-out war. Biggest challenges in this were probably twofold. One, pressure from the elected members, so the MSPs, the government, and what they had put into place and when they wanted this to be done by. So when a date is set for something, a deadline to get something done that you haven't set yourself, that is a huge challenge to try to meet, because the other parties or the people involved in these negotiations, it's very easy for you just to turn around and say, oh, I'm going to work to that. Why should I? This is your deadline. This is your problem. And almost, there weren't any physical hostages, but it becomes a little bit of a hostage tactic here, where time becomes the thing that they take control of. So that was one of the challenges, was the fact that the parameters were set out with the room and out with the party that was trying to control the negotiation. The other challenge within this was ultimately a confidence challenge. When you're put into a room with people who are very, very confident in their own abilities and in what they do, and actually sometimes they just play the role of saying, no, we're not doing that, no. Having the confidence in yourself to push back, to challenge, to question, to try to think through in the heat of battle, how do I get this conversation moving forward and what do we need to do? It's not a natural skill for most people. But by giving them the concept and the ideas, again, another tool that we have is called the Discovery Grid. And within there, we have a framework for asking questions. And I always say it sounds a bit corny, but we talk about it's getting a grip of the conversation. And it's a way of looking at it and saying, how do we get things going? How do we reveal more information? How do we drive down to their interests? And how do we maybe suggest some positions, some things that might work for people? And if you can you don't have to have the questions or the line of conversation in your head, but if you can have that GRIP in there to say, okay, they've just said something interesting, I'm going to reveal some more information. I might just paraphrase, I might just nod, I might just stay quiet. And those are all ways that we can just get that conversation going.